Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this wonderful Sunday. Welcome to the Quintessential Queens podcast right here on IntellectualRadio.com. We are an iHeart radio station, and I want to thank you all for joining us today. Again, welcome to the Quintessential Queens podcast, where queens come to be celebrated, elevated, and sometimes vindicated, but always educated. Hello, everyone out there in my social media land. I hope you all are watching me. I am on Facebook Live. We are also on YouTube. Intellectual Radio is on YouTube, so you can tune in. If you don't have the link, go to YouTube, type in Quintessential Queens Podcast, subscribe to intellectualradio.com, and boom, I'm right there. You can see me and you can see many other shows that we have here. Intellectual Radio has something for everybody. There is a show for everyone here, and it's running 24/7, or as y'all say, 24/7. So you could subscribe to the channel and watch everything. They talk about finance, relationships, religion, politics. And speaking of politics, we are well into what do I want to say? It's a whole new thing about to go on now because the Republicans got the House, they got the Senate, they got the president. So a lot of stuff is getting ready to change, and we need to be prepared for that change, and we need to be paying attention. So everybody needs to be paying attention because the policies are getting ready to change. Taxes are getting ready to change. Your money is getting ready to change. Things are getting ready to get very different for some of us. And we need to be prepared and ready to either accept the change or stand up and fight to make things better for us. Everybody always talking about this MAGA stuff, make America great again. For who or for whom? Was America great for us? Was it really ever great for Black people? That's something I heard T.I. say. When was America ever great for Black people? When we were great, what did they do? They bombed us. They burned us down. They took away all the economy that we were trying to create for ourselves. So that was great for us until they came and violently took it away from us, killed us, burned down our stores, burned down the economy, all stuff that would not make America great for us. But that's just what I want to tell you all to be prepared, be ready, be prepared to accept or stand up and fight, whichever it is, whichever it is. We kind of know what's coming. We know what's coming. So just be ready. Now, switching topics. I asked a question on my Facebook page. I think it might have been yesterday or Friday, one of them days. And I also asked some of my close friends. And surprisingly, I got great responses from men. Men responded to this question. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. I asked, looking back, if you have the opportunity to look back and to go back, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? Looking back, if you have the opportunity, if you have the opportunity to go back at the age you are now and talk to your young self, your teenage self, your 16-year-old self, what would you tell yourself? Ladies, what would you tell her? Men, what would you tell him? What would you say if you could go back and say, "Hey, man," or "Hey, girl," what would you tell yourself? So I'll start with me. What I would tell myself is, don't worry so much. Everything's gonna be okay, and wear the bikini. Yeah, uh-huh. I should have wore the bikinis when I was able. That's what I want to tell you. I should have put on that two-piece when I had that 16-year-old body. Not that anything's wrong with this body, and I could wear a two-piece if I wanted to, but yeah, I was so afraid of how I looked or so worried about, "Oh, I don't know if this gonna look right or that gonna look right," that I never put it on. I barely wore a swimsuit when I was coming up. I thought to me that it was showing too much. And plus I was, wasn't too confident about the way my body looked back then, and not as confident as I should have been period. I might have been confident more than most. I believe I was more confident than most 16-year-olds. I was definitely smarter than most, but I still had that veil of insecurity around me. But I was 16, right? A lot of us at 16, we don't have the confidence and security that we need, but hopefully you find it as you grow up. So if you were able to, you had the opportunity to go back to your 16-year-old self, what would you say? If you all want to tell me, just call in at 708-223-8953. Again, it's 708-223-8953. You could call in and tell me what you tell your 16-year-old self. So in the meantime, I am going to read some of the answers my followers told me. So one person, David, he's a male, he said he would talk to his congressman about the Naval Academy. I guess he would have been interested in joining that particular armed force. Another follower, Joe, said he would invest, listen to this, invest heavily in Google, Apple, and lithium. I don't know if he's talking about the medicine or the metal. A good friend of mine, Mashana, she said, slow down. That's what she would tell her 16-year-old self. Now, how many of you would tell your 16-year-old self, slow down? Would you say slow down or move faster? Get up and do something. Light a fire under yourself. She said, slow down. Bruce said, leave the city girls alone. He's not the only male that told me that. Leave them girls alone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure you would. Another friend, Erica, said she'd go away to college. And Erica is a good friend of mine. She's also a follower. She also has a group that I am a part of. And I always love hearing what she has to say. She said she would go away to college. Mac, open your eyes to all opportunities. Join the federal service earlier than you did. Invest bigger and dream bigger. He said he would dream bigger. I got a caller. Just hit it here. Okay. Do I have to hit anything? Because it looked like it's already up. Hello. Do I have a caller on the line?
Yes, you have a caller on the line. Hello.
Hey, Miss Rhea. It's the well, we're hosts. We're both hosts of this show. My partner who hosts this show, the Quintessential Queens podcast. You all saw her last week with her beauty queens. What's going on, Miss Rhea? Thank you for calling. You're always giving me your input. I love it.
Well, I was calling in because, of course, I was watching on the website and I thought about what I would tell my 16-year-old self.
Please
And
tell us. Please tell
one thing
us.
would be stop being afraid to shine.
Stop being afraid to shine. Elaborate on that for us, Rhea.
When I was in high school, I didn't want to stand out. I already felt like I was too tall, I was too thin, I was too this and that weren't, quote unquote, the most positive things. Not that anyone said it to me, that's what I was thinking in my own head. So a lot of times, instead of shining, I fell back into the crowd. And that wasn't the right thing to do.
So were you doing it to blend in or were you hiding? What tell me what you stood back into the crowd and
More so to not bring any more attention to me. So blending would probably be, well, a combination of blending in and hiding. So a lot of times, even now, when I look back at life from this 56-year-old perspective, a lot of my friends and I were going to the middle of the road. We didn't want to stand out too much. We didn't want to be the it girl. We just kind of wanted to get through it. And we left a lot of opportunities on the floor that we should have picked up because we did not exert ourselves in a way that we could have and should have not to be braggadocious, as they used to say back in the day, but because there were truly some talents there, and we did not get the proper amount of exposure to our personal talents until we were much older and much later in life. But they showed themselves back then.
Do you think you missed out on anything, and do you think it changed your life that you were stepping back and not picking up certain opportunities? How do you think it affected your life?
It made me get to where I am a lot later than perhaps it would have if I would have stepped up and shown up for myself when I was younger. So I'm not saying I wouldn't have gotten here, but instead of getting here in my 50s, I would have gotten here perhaps in my 30s.
Maybe sooner. So if you were sitting down talking to 16-year-old you, what exactly would you say? Just the way you would say it to 16-year-old you. What would you say?
I know you're afraid and I know you're uncertain about the outcome of what you know your talents are. Go for it anyway and go for it now.
Go for it
Don't worry.
anyway.
Don't worry about what everybody else might say. Don't worry about what you're afraid of. Go for it now.
Go for it anyway and go for it now. I love that counsel. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. Can you just imagine how well we would flourish if somebody would sit us down and say that? Actually, eyeball to eyeball, face to face. Don't worry. I know you're afraid. Go for it
I
and
think,
go for it
yeah,
now.
I think that a lot of us just needed to know that there are going to be failures, there are going to be missteps, there are going to be mistakes made, but that's life. And you can't grow if you don't get out there and do what you know you can do and figure it out. It may not come out the way you think the first time, but you'll learn. I don't ever believe in losses. I believe in winning and learning. So if you didn't win that first time, you learned something that'll help you win perhaps the second time.
And then that mindset. See, the mindset of things aren't losses or failure comes later. Because when you're 16, it's like you win or you lose. I failed. I failed. I didn't make it. I didn't make it.
Right.
That mindset, if we could have that at 16, I agree with you. We would have more successes earlier. Because at 16, you don't know that failure is a part of life and that you can be resilient. You can bounce back from that. You don't really know that. You don't know that there are ups and downs all the time. And as things don't go the way you planned it, get that mindset that says, okay, we're going to evaluate, assess, and reset, start over, or pick up where I left off instead of drowning in that woe or drowning in that pain or drowning in that depression. It takes you so long to climb out when you fall into a tunnel or a well or a
Yeah.
hole. It takes so much power to climb out. So as opposed to falling in, okay, I see the ditch there and I'm headed in that direction, but you know what? I'm going to turn around and go in the other direction. But we don't know that as teenagers. So that would be A1 counsel to tell yourself when when you're young.
The only other thing, I'm going to let you get back. I know there'll be other people that want to comment, that I would say to myself at that point is everyone to whom you are a friend is not necessarily a friend to you. Keep your eyes open.
Keep your eyes open. Now, let me ask you something. At 16, if someone tells you that, do you think it'll make you jaded? Do you think it'll make you just not trust people at all? Or you think the opposite, that you will just keep your eyes open? Elaborate on that for me.
I think at 16, being the 16-year-old that I was, let me say that everybody may not have been how I was, but I was very rebellious and was willing to fight at the drop of a dime about whatever. So But on the flip side, if I felt like someone was my friend, I would go to the ends of the earth for them. And I did not recognize that some bodies out there didn't feel the same about me until much later. So I would probably be a little more, not jaded, but you know how they say, I'm not going to operate on it right now, but in the back of my mind, I'm going to keep my eyes open.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I would have paid attention to some of the signs sooner.
That makes sense. That makes good sense. I think as children and you transition to adolescent and adult, that's the time to learn it because I learned that as I think I was about 12 or 13, where like my friends were telling me to do stuff and they would do it or not do it. And then I got in trouble for it. So I quickly learned okay,
Mm-hmm.
these people aren't my friends and I don't have to do everything people tell me to do. I don't have to succumb to the peer pressure. It might mean I won't have friends, but guess what? You're not my friend anyway. That lesson, I'm glad I learned it at that age. I'm glad I learned it between 13 and 16 that that is truly a adolescent crisis, those age. That age cuz my mother used to say it all the time is your crisis, not mine, cuz I was pretty rebellious too. According to her, I don't think I was.
Looking back, I can honestly say on some levels, I really kind of was rebellious. But on, like I said, on the other hand, I wanted people to like me. I wanted people to be comfortable around me. And sometimes that led me to make bad decisions.
I think as most of
And
us as
yeah,
that age. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rhea.
and I'm just thinking about it now because the quote unquote Virgo in me, the perfectionist, always goes back and looks over your life and nitpicks about what you couldn't have done and shouldn't have done. And there were times where, for the sake of friendship, I didn't do some things that I knew better. I knew I should have said something. I knew I should have done something differently, but I didn't. And down the road, that came back to haunt me.
Oh, wow. Now see, that's a different outcome too when it comes back to haunt you. When you can look at it and say, there was a detriment because of what I did or didn't do. And do you know people, adults still have that same thing holds grown people back, 20s, 30s, 40s, where they want to be accepted.
Sure.
They wanna, people to like them, so they might not do something they should do. They might not stand up for someone when they should've, or even dimming your lights. You know, you
Yep.
don't you don't shine because you're worried about people being jealous and upset, of your successes.
I'm having those same conversations with friends, and we are in our mid 40s to mid 60s. And I'm like, I thought we weren't going to be talking about this now. I really did. I thought we would be past this now. But sometimes, depending on who you're encountering and the relationships, etc., it's that same conversation.
And what we found out about, because I did mention that, adolescent crises happens between these certain ages. And what we found out now was that they've extended it. When they're talking about the crises and the stages of development, they've extended adolescence. It's gone into the 20s. But that as people and as we develop, we bounce back and forth between all of that. So for it to come up at 40, 50, 60, I'm with you. I'm thinking, okay, that's something that I don't think we would be talking about or worried about at this age, but it's just not the truth. It's every age. Every age that I've encountered, it's always been a group of people where that concern is there. They're a little envious of my success, or maybe I was a little envious of, their success. And I was well grown, too grown to even be worried about being jealous of something somebody else is doing. But we bounce back and forth between that. Can you believe it?
Absolutely. So, some of the 16-year-old lessons you're discussing outside of the purchase of Google, and lithium and stuff, which yeah, we can't go back and do that. But
What you say, right?
right, 'cause if I'd have known then what I know now, I absolutely I'm with that person on that.
That was my
But a
buddy
lot of the
Joe.
lessons we're still dealing with at 56.
And the dealing with the having to deal with that is not necessarily us, but it's the people we're around because they're
Sure.
having that issue. We supposed to be tight. Why you trying to dim my light? I don't understand. Why you doing that? We supposed to be friends. But I try.
Well,
I try not to surround myself with friends like that. I can honestly say my true friends, I don't have that problem. But I can't
I was
act
just
like I
about to
don't
say
have
that.
that. Go ahead.
No, I was just about to agree with you. There are so many people that through the pageant, through real estate, through grammar school, high school, college, through Sigma Gamma Rho, through growing up in Calumet Heights, through whatever way they quote unquote know me. But in all honesty, you may know of me, you may know things about me, but most people don't really know anybody. You only have a handful of people in this world that really down to your core know you.
That's true.
And
And
all the rest of the people are, they could be cool or associates or acquaintances or whatever you want to call them. But once we really get a clear understanding of our position in the world and our purpose in it, because that to me is on a God level, that's not on a man level. You will find who is really for you and with you because those jealousies and stuff that you're talking about, you don't have those when you understand what God has for you.
amen.
And perhaps if that was understood earlier, then it would have changed a whole lot of outlooks and a whole lot of trajectory changes. I've had to pivot a few times in life, but I didn't understand my purpose as far as God's plan.
That is so important to understand your purpose as far as God's plan, because it's already written for you to succeed and do. It's just up to you to follow the path that He's setting for you. But I like the way you put it, pivots. We've had many
Yeah,
pivots in life. Just keep on living. You're going to have pivots. Like,
yeah,
I'm going to have to turn around from this direction. But what I'm still learning even now is, a lot of times we hang on to things that cause our vision to be blurred and blinded and
yeah.
obscured. And now we're not walking in our path because we're so focused on the wrong thing or whatever it is that's hanging over your head or whatever it is that you got hanging in your heart. You got to let that stuff go. Really, you got to let that stuff go because it does interfere with your walkway. It does interfere with the path and your purpose. I talked to a friend of mine, Jay Scott. She was sitting in this chair, and we both said that when people are envious of what you're doing, it's really an insecurity about what they have not done.
You know what? My best friend, Pam Braxton, is a therapist. And one of the things that she told me that really is in alignment with what you're discussing now is that a lot of her clients are there due to childhood baggage because she doesn't counsel children typically. She counsels adults. But those things that they hadn't gotten over, gotten through, understood, let go, are still subliminally or consciously guiding them through their everyday lives in a not so good way.
That's the truth. And I think that's the truth that a lot of therapists would share and that people would share. That's the baggage that people carry. And when folks are talking about being healed, that you need to get healed from certain things, it's things in your past, childhood, adolescent, maybe even your young adulthood that you're bringing right over with you to your 40, 50s, 60s. Because if you haven't dealt with it or if you haven't healed from it, it's there. It's not going anywhere. You can only
Can I
suppress it for so long.
can I say what I would have loved to have told my 16-year-old mother?
Oh, please.
Ignore them as far as your color goes. You are beautiful, period. No stipulations.
You are beautiful, no stipulations. You are beautiful, no stipulations. I tell myself that today, tomorrow, the next day, because I have to. I have to. I have to remind myself of that. And I'm not just talking about the outer beauty, I'm talking about all of the skill and talents that the good Lord has seen fit for me to have that I need to be using, that I need to be putting energy towards instead of worrying about the things I'm worrying about.
You and I have had that conversation about colorism.
Yes.
And my mother is 84. And I went to pick her up from bingo, Lord help me, Friday. And it's so bizarre because I don't look like my mother at all. And when she introduces me to people, some of her friends around there, of course, know who I am, but when they're new ones, they don't necessarily know me. And so Friday, she introduced me to some ladies, and I had to control myself because I understand that my response would have been the wrong one, and I did not know the right one.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ladies says, "You're really pretty. You don't look anything like your mother."
Wow. Wow.
And I caught the Lord caught what I was going to say in my throat. I said, "No, I don't look like her. She's a different kind of beautiful."
So
And
now
that's
how
all I
did your
could
mother
manage.
feel? How did your mom feel?
She's actually sadly used to it. She's actually resigned to it.
See, we go through a lot of that too, that you get so used to the mistreatment. But, probably back in your mom's day, standing up for yourself might meant you die. So
Right.
sometimes that's
She'll tell you.
a mistreatment they had to get used to.
Oh yes, Dr. King came to see them at Tougaloo College, and she told him, I can't go with you all because if somebody spits on me, my mama told me to fight." So she's very clear about her limitations on that.
She said, I'm
But
not doing that
I
non-violent
can't,
protesting.
right, I can't do that. I help y'all. I can mail some envelopes, but that whole let somebody spit on you. No, I can't do that part.
I'm not doing well, it's not a lot of us that would do that today. That's why King and everyone who followed him is held in such high regard because that takes some very powerful restraint. I don't even think I have that restraint.
I know I don't. And I'm not sure he would have held on to it much longer had he lived past his assassination, but that's a conversation for a different day. But just having the clear understanding that even at 84, she has to laugh off what people think is beautiful versus what they think she is, because A, I don't think I am a showstopper by any stretch of the imagination. B, that to me is a backhanded compliment, and I would rather you say nothing than do that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Those are backhanded compliments. Oh, you don't look nothing like this person. You're very pretty.
Right.
Especially if you're talking
And
about
that's
my mama. That is really, I don't
right.
look at that as a compliment at all. That's that nice, nasty stuff. That's what
Right.
my mom and
And
my
mind
aunts
you,
call it.
oh yeah, and we were at the bingo club on 79th and Stony at the senior citizens building. So I'm not talking about young people. The people in there are 60s, 70s, and 80s. These are, and you're still being that antagonistic, like you said, nice, nasty kind of thing. That's a bag you're carrying that has nothing to do with me or my mother.
That's right. That's right. So did
But
your
at the
mama
but
win a lot of money that night? Maybe some folks was upset because she took home the bag.
look, I don't know because I never asked her. I always come in there and try to get $5 to go into the little room where they sell little jewelry. So I don't know what she won. But like you said, even at 16, I think that there's so many things, even at that young age, that people have seen, that people have endured, that people are carrying, that it's hard to shake off even later in life. They still carry that mentality.
And then we're talking about change. They don't um uh, I hate to sound, stereotypical, but a lot of older people, they aren't about changing how they behave, how they talk, and how they talk to you, and what they believe in. It's about what I find is older grumpy men and older messy women. They were grumpy young men and they were
Yeah.
messy young women. They just didn't change. They didn't just get messy at 30 or 40. They've been
Well,
messy.
no.
They've been messy.
And one of the lessons in life is some people are comfortable being exactly who they are. You may have a messy person that is happy being happiest at their messiest.
I agree with you. Some people don't think it's anything wrong with them when it is. That's just the bottom line. It is. It's something that needs to change, but it's a lot of work to change who you've been if you've been this person 20, 30, 40 years. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. So I think
No.
personally, I think they slide back into that. Well, I'm just who I am and I ain't gonna change. Yeah,
And
because
that
it's
is
work.
exactly what they say. I'm too old to change. Okay.
Because it's work. It's work to change. That's this just who I am. Okay, so you're rude,
Mm-hmm.
you're nice, nasty, you're
Mm-hmm.
aggressive. You don't think that needs to taper over even a little bit?
Nope.
And a lot
Correct.
of us have learned to adjust to it also, because my generation, respectful of elders, and that meant that they could really say anything to us and we didn't say anything back. That's how it was. The generations after me, they ain't having
No, they're
it
not
at
trying to hear that.
all. And they not having it.
Well,
They talk back. I done witnessed it. They talk back. Well, what it was called talking back, when really they're just
right.
kind of sticking up for themselves.
Right. They're defending themselves. What I will say, and I'll let you get back to the regularly scheduled broadcast, is for anyone who's struggling with or doesn't believe that they should change and is a follower of the Holy Bible, the
Mm,
word tells you that there is, until the last breath, there is hope. And you can do anything through Christ who strengthens you.
that's right. Amen. That's
And that
right.
includes changing if that's what you really want to do.
If that's what you really want to do. So you have to really want it, right?
You have to really want it, and then you have to be willing to do what it takes to achieve it. That's one of the words I always tell people. I want to lose 25 pounds. The question is, do I want to lose it enough that I'm willing to do what it takes to lose it?
To
And
ju-
some days is, yeah, I'm kind of close to that enough. And some days it's like, no, I really want that double chocolate cake, and I don't care what happens tomorrow. So if you want it enough and you hold on to his unchanging hand, there will still be obstacles and there will be temptations, but you'll get there. But you have to want it enough.
you have to want it enough. I agree with you there, because really what happens if there are changes that should be and you are resistant, sometimes God will slap you on your back and you won't have any choice but to get the change and quickly.
I've been there, done that, can write the book, do the screenplay, all of it.
All
Yes,
of it.
you're right.
I have
All
too.
of it.
I don't think it's too many of us that haven't. Absolutely. Where I'm just not gonna do it like that, God, because I don't want to. Ha!
But
Quick
yes,
change.
if you are a believer, because if you are in the trenches with Satan and his minions, it doesn't seem like there's a lot going on wrong for you because, Satan is making it smooth for you. You're comfortable doing what he wants you to do. But when you really want to make that change, when you really want to be that light that God shines through you, you're going to take somebody's blood
Yeah, now that's the truth. People shouldn't think that change through God is without trial or tribulation
and challenge it.
or challenges. It's absolutely there. But I will tell you what a young lady told me. Having problems with God is completely different than having problems without him, and I would rather go
Oh,
through my
wow.
problems with him.
That's right. I would rather be in the amen corner of the first resurrection and not worry about not one of his children down here have to say about anything than be worried about going to hell because I cared about these people and their foolishness.
Or the awful suffering that would go on right here. We
That's
suffer
right.
here first.
That's right. And if you don't change your way, you know where that goes. Unless he shows grace and mercy upon you, and there's hope for that. But yeah, I'm not going. I don't want to gamble.
You say, I'm not going. I ain't going, as the young people
Mm-mm.
say. I'm not going.
Mm-mm.
And grace and mercy all the time, because that's why we're still here. That grace and mercy, that's why we still here.
Absolutely.
And that is truly our belief. My belief, Ria's belief, even some of my followers believe this. That's what we believe. Some of you might believe different, but as for my house, we believe in Jesus. We believe in Christ. We believe in God. Me and my home, we serve the Lord. That's what we want to do.
That's right. So have a great rest of your show, madam. And I will talk with you later this week.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for calling in. It's always good to get your perspective on stuff. I'm going to talk to you again about the last time you called in. I had a lot of people that had a lot of stuff to say. We're going to, but that'll be another show.
Tell them we'll come on the show together and they can call in then.
That
That's fine.
I think that's a good idea, especially now. We need to do that. We need to do that. So that's on the roster, Ms. Rhea.
All right. We'll schedule our date later this week.
Okay. You have a good day, and thank you for calling in.
You're welcome, love. I'll talk with you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
All right. That's always good. See what I'm talking about, people? Call in. Get stuff off your chest. Let your voice your opinion. Call in. That's why I give you the number 708-223-8953. Call in. Tell me what you think, if you agree, if you disagree, whatever it is. I won't judge you harshly. Okay. I won't judge you at all. Actually, I really like that we have this forum that you can speak your mind. You can speak freely. All I ask is that, mind your words and try not to swear. So Rhea was talking, there was a lot going on there. And then we were talking about, she did say something like, most 16-year-olds weren't like her. And 16-year-olds growing up wherever they grew up, some 16-year-olds had a hard time. One of my friends and followers said she was 16 when she had her son. She said, "Oh, this is a deep one for me." See, yeah, some young girls were unmarried and pregnant. And back then, that wasn't the thing to be. You were scarlet lettered when you were a teenager, unmarried and pregnant. Not just to mention, you might be a grown woman, unmarried and pregnant, scarlet lettered. Imagine the difficulty an adolescent would have to go through, that, they're getting ready to have a baby. And, uh, they don't have a husband. And I'm specifically talking about women, because it wasn't the same for the boys. It wasn't the same for the boys. You would never know they were walking around with a baby. But for a woman who's unmarried, you can see it. You can see that. You can see her belly's getting bigger. And she don't have a husband. So just imagine all of the shame that's put on her just for that. Just for those simple things. Just imagine that. So I'm sure there was a hard thing to have to go through. And I would say so. I was about 19 when I had my son, but I wasn't married. And the same shame is there. But I had a lot of women telling me, "Look, keep your head up, have your child, take care of you, take care of your baby, and try to do better." Meaning, don't get so behind the eight ball like that because it's hard to take care of a kid by yourself. First of all, it's hard raising children, period. It's even that much more difficult if you are a single parent. And let me rewind because I didn't have to raise my kids by myself. I had a whole village. My family was the village. My family, we are the glue to everything. My first friends, my cousins. But me and my cousins are so tight that we call each other brother and sister. We just that tight. So to me, I didn't care if I made any friends outside the family because my cousins are my friends. I'm the only friends I need. And any of my cousins watching, that's how it is, right? We are each other's friends. But we also learned that, our family is really big and we have this love there, right? That people are drawn and attracted to it, and we open that up and bring in people you wouldn't even know that they weren't members of our family. We have members of our family that aren't blood related just because the love is there and people want to be a part of it. People want to be surrounded with that, right? That's the village. That's the village I raised my children with. That's the village that I was raised with. And that's the village that I come to expect when I'm out in the world. But man, did I find out everybody's family is not like that. People aren't close. They don't get along with each other. They don't have the support, which shocks me when I hear it. Like, what? You ain't close to your family? They won't help you with your kid. They won't help you with this. Shocking to me because that's not how I grew up. I wasn't raised that way. I thank God that I have such a wonderful support system. So, family, that's good all the time and all the time family is good. Thank you and I love you all dearly and I do. I might have some of you sitting in this chair one day soon. Anybody who wants to call in and talk to me about talking to your 16-year-old self, the number 708 223 8953. If you have anything else you might want to add to this, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? One of my followers said he would invest in Bitcoin. So of course, I think a lot of us would do well investing in things. But what did we invest in when we were 16? Jordans. People couldn't wait to go out and buy them Nikes. I wasn't one of them, but I was definitely investing in fashion, clothes, shoes, hats. I had found what like house music, new wave music. I was one of them kids. I was wearing big baggy pants before Criss Cross came around. I was wearing the little Boy George fedora because I love that. That's what I was investing money in, clothes. We wanted to look good. We wanted to feel good. And those were great days for us, but we didn't really know any better. It would be nice to raise your children with some financial stability and knowledge so that you can have money as you get older. You can be this rich, wealthy person financially or just stable enough to want and do things. That's kind of what we want to have. So back to the 16-year-old self. My sister, Janetta, said she would study harder to get into the top colleges. When your teachers see your potential or your coach sees your potential in a competitive sport and learn a second language. So she would learn a second language early and she would study harder. I would too. I think I would study harder. When I was in high school, you have a top 10. So the top 10 are the 10 smartest kids in that school, the 10 smartest. And, I told you I was smart, right? I should have been in there. I decided I wanted to get in the top 10 in like my junior or senior year. You know what? I'm going to try for this. Let me get more A's than the A's I'm getting. Let me do this. It don't work like that. Those kids that were in the top 10 our senior year had been fighting for that from freshman year. From freshman year to senior year. They didn't just decide to do it the last year. They had that goal in their heads from the beginning. So this is what I'm talking about about telling your younger self. What would you tell your younger self? You didn't have that opportunity to tell it then. Do it now. Tell yourself now you're going to learn about money. You're going to learn about finance. You're going to get a stronger back. You're going to be more supportive to yourself. You're going to have more confidence for yourself and set that goal. The top of one mountain is the base of another. When you climb in the mountain and you see you're reaching the pinnacle, your mind should already be setting the next goal. I've reached some mountains. I've reached it, and on my way up, I'm like, okay, I already got my eye on that next mountaintop. I already got my eye on that pinnacle. I already got a goal in mind that I'm trying to reach all the time. And it's always spinning in my head. But the point of it is, you might not have been able to tell your 16-year-old self what to do better, but you can tell yourself right now what to do better. All of us can. Give yourself the support that you want from others. Give yourself the support that you felt you may not have had. So it's all about the resiliency of self, and it's all about loving you so that you can make yourself more available to take care and love other people. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Please watch every Sunday at 3 p.m. It's either myself or Ms. Rhea here sitting in this chair, and we may have some guests in this one. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on the Quintessential Queens podcast right here on IntellectualRadio.com, right there. We are an iHeart radio station. Come and tune in again next Sunday to see us. Thank you.